My own son kicked me out of his home on Christmas, saying I didn't fit into their new life. But what happened next changed everything, not just my fate. I'm 62, a nurse in the small town of Ohio. I dedicated my entire life to one person, my son. Only now, after everything that's happened, do I realize I nearly lost myself in that boundless love. This story didn't start at Christmas. It began much earlier, on the day my world fell apart, and I decided to build a new one for just one person. It all started 22 years ago on a frosty February morning when my husband David clutched his chest during breakfast. I remember every detail of that day, how he choked on his coffee, how his face turned pale, how he whispered, "Something's wrong." I'd been a nurse for 15 years, but in that moment, I forgot everything I knew. I just screamed, trying to rouse my husband as he slumped to the kitchen floor of our little house on Main Street. The ambulance arrived in 8 minutes that felt like an eternity. I performed CPR, gave him mouth-to-mouth, pleaded with God, bargaining, take my life, not his, not now, when's only 20. At General, where I'd worked for 5 years, my colleagues met me. Dr. Wilson, an elderly cardiologist with kind eyes, emerged from the ICU after 2 hours with the expression I'd seen in the mirror when I had to deliver bad news. His voice was gentle but merciless. We did everything we could. Massive heart attack, too much damage. David didn't suffer, it happened fast. He didn't suffer. Small comfort for a 40-year-old widow left alone with a mortgage, bills, and a son in college. I remember that awful day, standing by his hospital bed, holding his cold hand, with one thought pounding in my head: how do I tell? Calling his college was the hardest thing I've ever done. Mom's voice was groggy, clearly just waking up. What's wrong? You know I have a microeconomics exam tomorrow. I couldn't get the words out. Honey, you need to come home, now. Mom, you're scaring me. What's going on? Your dad, something happened. Dad's gone. The silence on the line lasted forever. Then I heard the phone drop and distant sobs. When rushed home 4 hours later, his face was paler than the hospital sheets. He burst into the house and threw himself into my arms like a little boy. Mom, what do we do? He asked, clutching me with trembling hands. How do we go on without Dad? In that moment, something in me shifted. Grief took a backseat. Maternal instinct overpowered everything else. We'll manage, honey, I whispered, stroking his hair, still smelling of dorm life, cheap shampoo, and pizza. I promise you'll get your education. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure you want for nothing. But we don't have the money. We'll find it. I work at the hospital. I can take extra shifts. Your dad left a small insurance policy. We'll make it, sweetheart. Just focus on finishing school and becoming who you want to be. And I kept that promise. God, did I keep it. A week after the funeral, I went to my department head to ask for more work. Doctor, a stern man with a military bearing, said, "Are you sure? You just lost your husband. You need time to grieve." I need money, I said bluntly. I've got a son in college, a mortgage, bills. I'll grieve in the evenings. He gave me extra night shifts. I also took a weekend job as a private nurse for Mrs. Van Berg, a wealthy widow living in a mansion on Hill Street who needed constant care. Mrs. Van Berg was demanding and prickly. She'd screech in her quavering voice. "These pills are the wrong color. They were blue yesterday, now they're green. Are you trying to poison me?" Mrs. Van Berg, they're the same pills, just from a different manufacturer. Don't argue with me. I don't pay you to lecture me. But I endured. $150 a weekend was big money for a widowed nurse. I also took side work typing documents for a local law firm, staying up until 3 a.m., clacking away on my mother's old Olympia typewriter. My hands cracked from constant washing, my back ached from bending over patients, my eyes watered from sleepless nights at the typewriter. But I kept going, because I had a goal, had to get his degree, find a good job, start a family. Every 2 weeks, I sent him $500 for living expenses. For me, it was a fortune. For him, pocket change. "Thanks for the money, Mom," he'd call on Sundays. "You're the best. Oh, by the way, I need new textbooks for next semester." New textbooks, new clothes, money for bus tickets home, dorm fees, fraternity dues, trips with friends. The list never ended, and I never said no. When graduated with honors and landed a mid-level manager job at Harrison and Partners, a local insurance firm, I felt a pride I hadn't known since David's death. At his graduation, I sat in the front row, wearing my only decent dress, a $30 thrift store find, and cried tears of joy as my handsome, brilliant son walked across the stage for his diploma. "Mom," he hugged me after the ceremony, "I'll never forget what you did for me. Now it's my turn to take care of you." Those words warmed my heart for the next 6 months, until the day he came home and said, "Mom, I met someone. She works in marketing. She's special." Preston was what called a princess. Daughter of the owner of Preston Motors, the biggest car dealership in town, a graduate of a prestigious state university, with perfect hair and a smile probably worth my annual salary. The first time brought her to Sunday dinner, I prepared for a week, bought good meat, spending $20 I'd meant to save, scrubbed the house spotless, even borrowed a nice tablecloth from a neighbor. "How charming," exclaimed, stepping into my modest living room with IKEA furniture and homemade curtains. "So cozy." There was no malice in her voice, but something worse, condescension. She spoke as if describing a doghouse, cute but primitive. "Please sit," I said, hoping my voice sounded warm. "I made a roast." "Oh, how lovely," perched on the edge of a chair as if afraid to touch anything. "What's that smell?" I knew what she meant. My hands, no matter how much I scrubbed, always carried a faint hospital disinfectant scent, a nurse's occupational hazard. "Sorry, it's the cleaning solutions we use at the hospital. They're stubborn." "Oh, right, mentioned you're a nurse. How noble." Noble, she said it like she might describe a janitor's job, technically useful, but hardly prestigious. Over dinner, talked about her marketing job, out-of-town conferences, and plans to grow the company's brand. Her world was full of terms I didn't understand: targeting, conversion, lead generation. "And you," she said, cutting her meat into tiny pieces, "how long have you been at the hospital?" 20 years this month. Such stability, and I bet the benefits are great. Benefits at our small hospital, benefits, meant 2 weeks of paid vacation and insurance that covered only basic procedures. "Yeah," I lied, "it's fine." Beamed, glancing between me and "Mom, remember how you always said you wanted grandkids?" I laughed, but it was strained. "We're not even engaged yet." "Not yet," he winked. After they left, I cleared the dishes and thought about how different our worlds were. Came from country clubs, expensive cars, and European vacations. I came from double shifts, discount coupons, and deferred utility bills. But glowed with happiness, and that was enough for me. "Mom, we're getting married," he announced a year later, sitting me down on the couch, "and we need your help with the wedding." Of course they needed help. His parents were covering the reception, but she wanted a dream wedding at Oak Hill, the most exclusive country club in the county. "How much will it cost?" I asked, already dreading the answer. "$35,000, said, avoiding my eyes. "I know it's a lot, but..." $35,000, nearly my yearly salary. Where am I supposed to get that kind of money? "Well, you could take a home equity loan." A loan against the house David and I spent 15 years paying off. "If I can't make the payments..." "Mom," he took my hands, "this is only chance for her dream wedding. Her parents are already doing so much for the reception. I can't let her down." I looked into my son's eyes, brown like his father's, and saw something new: desperation. He was terrified of losing this woman. "Okay," I said, "I'll find a way." The next day, I went to First National Bank on Main Street. The loan manager, a 30-something in a sharp suit, studied my paperwork with a puzzled look. "Mrs. Henderson," he said finally, "you earn $38,000 a year and want a $35,000 loan. That's a huge portion of your income." "I have a stable job," I countered, 20 years at the same place. "That's a plus, but the monthly payments will be $450. Are you sure you can handle that?" No, I wasn't sure, but my son needed help, and I'd never been able to say no to him. "I can," I said firmly. The Oak Hill wedding was straight out of a fairy tale. looked like a princess in a $3,000 dress, like a prince in a tux. I sat in the front row in an $80 department store dress, crying tears of joy. When I saw the newlyweds' happy faces, when hugged me and whispered, "Thanks, Mom, you're the best," it all felt worth it. Even the $450 that now left my meager budget every month. After the wedding, things shifted even more. The couple rented an apartment in Riverview, the priciest complex in town, $1,500 a month for a 2-bedroom with a river view. Mom came to my house a month after their honeymoon, his face tense. "We're having trouble with the mortgage on our house. The bank wants a bigger down payment and we don't have it." The house they wanted in the upscale hillside neighborhood cost $450,000, a white colonial with 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, and a kitchen with granite countertops. The number made my head spin. "How much do you need?" I asked, knowing I'd be digging myself deeper into debt. $50,000. $50,000, more than my annual income. "I don't have that kind of money." "Mom," he sat beside me on the couch, taking my hands, "you know how important this is to us. Always dreamed of a house like this, and it's a great neighborhood, good schools for our future kids." Future kids I didn't yet have, but for whom I was ready to sell my soul. "I don't know where to get that money." "What about another loan or refinancing the house?" Another loan, refinancing. Words that meant more debt, more months of work. The next day, I went back to Mrs. Henderson. He shook his head, reviewing my file. "You're already paying one loan. Another could be problematic." "But the house is worth more than I owe on the first loan. Isn't that collateral?" "Technically, yes, but your income." "I have a side job," I interrupted. "Weekends, and I can take on more." He sighed. "Fine, but the interest rate will be higher, and if you can't make payments." "I can," I said with a confidence I didn't feel. I took the second loan against the house, started a third job cleaning offices in the evenings after my hospital shifts, and began selling my mother's jewelry. Her antique emerald ring from her golden anniversary fetched $700, a pearl necklace $400, a silver rose brooch $150. Each sale felt like a piece of me died, but I told myself Mom would understand. She was a mother too. I gave them the $50,000. Then came the monthly requests. "Mom, we're struggling with the car payment." Wanted a BMW X5, the latest model, silver with leather seats and a panoramic sunroof. Monthly payments, $800. "Mom, we need to pay for a kitchen remodel." The granite countertops in their house were the wrong shade. Wanted quartz ones for $12,000. "Mom, could you help with the nanny?" Yes, the kids, twins Jacob and Madison, were born 2 years after the wedding. I was over the moon becoming a grandmother. The birth was tough, was in the hospital for 5 days. I spent every free minute there, gazing at my grandkids' tiny faces, feeling a love stronger than anything I'd ever known. "They look like as a baby," I whispered to, who looked exhausted but happy. "Really?" She gave a weak smile. "I want you to know I'm grateful for all your help. I know it's not easy." "Nonsense," I brushed it off. "It's family." But even in that joyful moment, set boundaries. She said when we brought the kids home, and I decided it's best if you see the grandkids on a schedule. We don't want them getting too used to frequent visits. A schedule. I was allowed to see my once a week, Sundays from 2 to 5, as if I were a dangerous stranger, not a grandmother who'd give her life for them. "Why?" I asked. "I could help with the kids, watch them when you're at work." "We have a nanny," replied coolly. "Maria's doing great, and you work so much you don't have time for kids." No time for kids. I was working myself to death to pay for their house, their cars, their lifestyle, and I was told I had no time for my grandkids. But I endured, kept working, hospital from morning to 6, private clients on weekends, office cleaning 3 nights a week until midnight, sent them $2,000 a month, bought expensive gifts for birthdays and holidays. For the twins' first birthday, I spent $400 on toys, a developmental board for Jacob, a dollhouse for Madison, piles of books, clothes, and educational toys. Unpack the gifts with a tight smile. You spent too much. The kids don't need all this. It's their first birthday, I protested. I wanted to make it special. But they won't even notice. At this age, they'd be just as happy with the box. Maybe she was right, but I wanted to give my grandkids everything I couldn't give growing up. I wanted to be the wealthy grandma who could afford anything. I thought I was buying their love. How foolish I was. The first warning signs came 3 years ago. Grew nervous, irritable. He called at odd hours, asking for money for strange things. Mom, I need $5,000 urgently, he called at 2 a.m. once. I was asleep after a grueling shift, thinking it was an emergency. What's wrong? You scared me. Is someone sick? No, everyone's fine, just a business opportunity, super urgent. At 2 in the morning. Mom, can you help or not? It's important. There was a desperate edge to his voice I'd never heard before. Of course, honey, but explain. I'll explain tomorrow. Can you transfer the money now through the bank app? I gave him the money, of course. I always did, and I never got an explanation. Those calls became more frequent. The amounts grew and grew colder toward me. She said during one of my scheduled visits while the kids played in the living room, "Don't you think you're too involved in our lives?" I sat on the edge of their white leather couch, an $8,000 set I'd helped pay for starring at this beautiful, cold woman. What do you mean? All this money, the constant calls to "we're adults, we can take care of ourselves." But asks for help. Doesn't know how to say no, especially to his mom. Her words hit like a slap. Was she accusing me of forcing my son to take money? I'm not forcing anyone, I said quietly. I'm just helping my family. But your help, it makes dependent. He's stopped fighting, stopped solving problems, because he knows Mom will always bail him out. Dependent on my help, the help that cost me my health, my sleep, my savings. If you think my help isn't needed. That's not what I mean, she cut in. Just maybe ease up on the support, let us stand on our own. I swallowed my hurt and kept helping, because I was afraid of losing my son, my grandkids, the family that was my life's only meaning. Then came that awful day in October. I went to their house to take the kids to the park, one of our Sunday traditions. It was a beautiful fall day, the maples outside their house blazing red and gold. I brought a thermos of hot cocoa and homemade cookies for the grandkids. But the house was locked, the BMW and Mercedes, which I'd helped pay for, gone from the driveway. I called. Oh, Mom, sorry, we forgot to tell you. We went to his parents for the weekend. And the kids. With us, obviously. But we had plans. Mom, can't you be more flexible? We have other plans besides seeing you. Other plans besides me, as if I were a burden, not a grandmother. I baked cookies for the kids. Next time, give us a heads up. A heads up to show up at the agreed time on the agreed day as planned months ago. I stood on their porch staring at their perfectly manicured lawn, $300 a month for a gardener, the empty parking spots, and for the first time in years, I felt not pain but anger. Pure, burning anger. In the weeks that followed, something in me changed. I started noticing things I'd ignored before. Like how dodged questions about work. How's the office? I asked during one of our rare calls. Fine, he said curtly, same old. What about that new client project? What project? The one you mentioned last month. Oh, that, it got canceled. Or how he always asked for money right after I got paid. Mom, can you help with costs? It was the first Tuesday of the month, my hospital payday. How did he know? And our family visits grew shorter, more formal. 3 hours on Sundays became 2, then an hour and a half. Would say, glancing at her watch, we need to have an early dinner. The kids have preschool tomorrow. But it's only 4. You know, they get so tired from the weekend. They need a calm environment. A calm environment without their grandmother, who was apparently too exciting. I noticed how the kids reacted when I left. "Grandma, don't go," Madison would cry, clinging to my leg. "Stay for dinner." "Sweetie, I have to go." "But why? Why can't you stay?" I'd look at, standing silently in the kitchen doorway. "Because Mommy and Daddy have their own plans," I'd tell Madison, my heart breaking. Then in November, I saw by chance at Bella Vista across town. I was driving home after a day's shift when I spotted him through the window. He sat in a corner with a man I didn't know, tall, thin, in a dark blazer. A stack of cash sat between them. I parked and watched, looked tense, fidgeting with the bills. The man was talking, gesturing, then handed him the money and the man left. My son sat alone, head in his hands. That night I couldn't sleep. Who was that man? What was the money for? Why did look so defeated? The next day, he called with another request. "Mom, I need 3,000, urgent." "For what?" "It's car repair, serious issue." Car repair, but I'd seen her BMW in their driveway the night before, looking fine. I said slowly, "Are you lying to me?" The pause was too long. "What are you talking about, Mom?" "I saw his car last night, it looked fine." "It's an internal issue, not visible." Another lie, I could hear it in his voice, the same tone he used as a kid to cover up a broken window or a bad grade. But I gave him the money, because I didn't know what else to do. Christmas was the breaking point. I'd been preparing for 2 months, spent nearly $1,000 on toys from his wish list, ordered a special Christmas cake, decorated the house like never before. I even bought a new dress, navy blue with sequins, $90 from a department store, my first new outfit in 2 years. I wanted to look festive, worthy of the family dinner. I planned to make childhood favorites: turkey with cranberry sauce, sweet potato mash, green beans with almonds, cornbread from my mother's recipe. 2 days before Christmas, called. "Mom, we need to talk." Something in his voice put me on edge. "Okay, come over." When he arrived, his face was stone cold. He didn't take off his coat or shoes, standing in the entryway like a stranger. "Mom and I decided, this year, we're doing Christmas just with our family." The words didn't register at first. "But I am family," I exclaimed. "You know what I mean, wants to start new traditions for the kids. Your presence, it creates a certain vibe." "What vibe?" He sighed, like explaining something complex to a slow child. "Mom, you're always so heavy, talking about work, your problems. The kids should only feel joy at Christmas." Heavy, I was heavy because I worked 12-hour days to fund their lifestyle. My back ached from bending over patients, my hands were raw from chemicals, and I lay awake at night counting money to pay bills. "What about the gifts?" My voice shook. "I already bought them." "You can give them to me." "Through you." "Yeah, we'll say they're from." Not from the grandmother who spent her last dime on them, from a fictional character. And dinner, I ordered the turkey, the cake. "Mom, you can cancel all that." Something in me snapped, not my heart, it was already broken. Something deeper, the part that kept me in the role of sacrificial mother. "No." "What?" I said no, if I'm not part of Christmas, you don't get the gifts. His face twisted in shock, then anger. "Mom, don't be selfish. The kids are expecting gifts." "The kids don't even know they're from me." Throws away my cards and tells them they're from. "That's not true." "It is. I saw her toss my card last Christmas. You think I'm blind?" We were yelling at each other for the first time in our lives. My quiet, obedient son turned into a red-faced stranger. "You know what, Mom? Maybe we need a break from you. You're too demanding, too clingy. It's right, we're adults, we don't need your hovering." "You're hovering," I stood, trembling with rage. You need my money. 2,000 a month, mortgage payments, cars, nanny, vacations. That's not hovering, that's funding. We never asked. You did, I exploded. Every month, Mom, help with this. Mom, we need that. Mom, just a loan. And now I'm clingy. Paled but didn't back down. Wheels will pay you back. When, in 20 years, I'm drowning in 2 loans because of you. I work myself to death so you can live like kings, and I get 3 hours a week with my grandkids. Mom, calm down. No, I'm done calming down. Years of pent-up anger erupted. You know what I'm doing tomorrow? Canceling the auto transfer to your account, not another cent from me. Mom, panic crept into his voice. I can, and you know what else? Merry Christmas, son. Spend it with your real family. I grabbed his shoulders and pushed him out the door. Then I locked it, leaned against it, and slid to the floor. I cried until dawn. Cried for the wasted years, the money thrown away, the one-sided love. But for the first time in years, I also cried with relief. The days that followed were a blur of pain, but oddly liberating. I canceled the auto transfer to his account as promised. The kids' gifts went into a hospital charity box for children who needed them. I gave the Christmas turkey to my neighbor, Mrs., a kind elderly widow. The cake went to a homeless shelter. I spent Christmas alone for the first time in 40 years. Watched old movies, made a simple dinner, drank a glass of wine I'd been saving for a special occasion. And you know what? It wasn't so bad. My phone rang constantly, unknown numbers I didn't answer. 23 voicemails piled up. Mom, let's talk. Please call back. Mom, the kids are asking for you. Moms, we're in trouble. We need your help. Trouble, of course. The money stopped and suddenly trouble. Then, on December 28, there was a knock at the door. I peeked out and saw. She looked awful, disheveled hair, red eyes, trembling hands, wearing an old jacket and stained jeans I'd never seen before. We need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. Please, she grabbed my arm. I didn't know, I swear I didn't know. Something in her desperate voice made me let her in. Didn't know what? Collapsed onto my IKEA couch, the one she'd once sneered at, and sobbed. The gambling, the debts, we're going to lose the house. The world spun around me. What are you saying? He's been gambling, casinos, online poker, sports betting. For 2 years, all the money you sent, my savings, my parents' money, he lost it all. I sat beside her, the ground slipping beneath me. He lied to me all this time. Not just you, me too. I thought he was stressed about work. He told me you were pressuring him, demanding more time with the kids, and that's why he was on edge. He turned us against each other. Yes, wiped her tears with her sleeve. I was such a fool. I thought you were trying to control our lives. That's why I kept you at arm's length. And he used it. When you stopped the transfers, he threatened me. Said if I didn't get you to start again, he'd take the kids and leave. Threatened my boy, the one I raised, the one I gave my life for, threatened his children's mother. Where is he now? I don't know. He hasn't been home in 3 days. His phone's off. I looked at this woman I'd thought cold and arrogant and realized she was a victim too, maybe more than me. What do you want from me? Help me save the kids. I'm not asking for money. I know you don't have it, but I don't know what to do. I'm scared of him. When he doesn't get money for gambling, he gets terrifying. In that moment, I made a decision that changed everything. Pack up the kids and come here. What? Now grab the essentials and come. We'll figure this out together. Arrived with the kids an hour later. Jacob and Madison were confused. At 7, they didn't understand what was happening, but they felt the tension. Grandma, Madison ran into my arms. Mommy said we're living with you. For a little while, sweetheart, I said, kissing her head, feeling a fierce resolve to protect them. Where Daddy? Jacob asked. Unlike his sister, he was quieter, always asking serious questions. Daddy, working on some things, said, we'll see him soon. But her eyes were full of doubt. That first night, after the kids fell asleep on my couch under old blankets, and I talked until dawn. "I owe you the whole truth," she said, clutching a mug of tea. "Started gambling 3 years ago, just poker with colleagues at first, then online casinos." "When did you find out?" 6 months ago, I found credit card statements, huge amounts to Lucky Star's Golden Palace. He said they were corporate events. "And you believed him?" "I wanted to," she gave a bitter smile. "You know what it's like to realize the man you've been with for 10 years is lying, that your whole life is a lie." I knew, God, I knew. Then the debt started, 5,000 on a credit card, then 10, 20. He said it was temporary, that he'd fix it. "And you stayed quiet." "I was scared he'd leave. I had the kids." I took her hand. We were both fools. Me for blindly giving money, you for staying silent. But now we know the truth. "What do we do?" "I don't know, but we'll figure it out together." That evening showed up. He stormed in without knocking, like he still owned the place. "Where are they?" he growled. "Where's my family?" He looked terrible, unshaven, in rumpled clothes, reeking of alcohol and cigarettes, red eyes, shaking hands. "Your family's safe," I said, stepping between him and the stairs where the kids slept. "Mom, you don't understand. It's feeding you lies. We're just having a rough patch." "I know about the gamblings." He froze like I'd slapped him. "Who told you?" "Your wife, the woman who loves you and who you've driven to a breakdown with your lies." "It's none of your business." "It is," I shouted so loud he flinched. "It's my business because you've been stealing from me for 2 years. I thought I was helping my family, but you were fueling your addiction." "I'm not an addict, I just..." "Just what?" "Lost $120,000 by accident, scared your wife so much she's afraid of you, made your kids live in constant stress." Broke right before my eyes. The 40-something man, my son, turned back into the scared boy I comforted after his father's death. "Mom, I didn't mean to," he said. "It started as a game, poker with the guys. Then I found a casino online, won 15 grand once, thought it was easy." "And you kept chasing it?" "Yeah, when I lost, I thought I could win it back, over and over. Mom, I couldn't stop. Even when I knew it was a problem, I couldn't stop." "That's called addiction." "I know." He collapsed into a chair, face in his hands. "I know I'm sick, but I don't know how to stop." I looked at my son, no longer the man I raised, but a broken person who needed help. "You need treatment." "I know, but I need my family back first." "Your family will come back when you're better. For now, you see the kids only under my supervision." "Mom, you can't." "I can and I will, because now I'm protecting them from you, not the world from you." My life changed drastically in the months that followed, and the kids stayed with me while she looked for work and a place to live. We became more than allies, we became friends. My little house on Main Street came alive. Children's laughter, the patter of feet on the stairs, toys scattered in the living room. I bought bunk beds for the kids, turned my sewing room into their bedroom. Said one evening after the kids were asleep, "I owe you an apology." "For what?" "For everything, for being so cold, for keeping you away from the kids. I thought you were trying to control us." I admitted. I wanted to be needed. After David died was all I had. I was terrified of losing him. "But you didn't lose him, his illness did." Proved to be a remarkably strong woman. Within a week, she landed a job at Sunset Realty, starting with simple tasks, showing apartments, drafting contracts, but quickly excelled. "You know," she told me a month later, "I've never really worked before. After college, I got married, had kids. I didn't realize how much I was missing." She wasn't just beautiful. She was a sharp businesswoman with a knack for people and real estate. She said over dinner, "I sold a house today for $400,000 to the Johnsons. Remember, they wanted something in a good school district." The kids adjusted to their new school quickly. Madison befriended a neighbor's daughter, Sarah. Jacob joined the chess club. "Grandma," Madison asked over breakfast, Are we gonna live with you forever? Not forever, sweetheart. Mommy's going to find a new house. But I don't want a new house. I like it here. So did I. For the first time in years, I felt real, not just a mother, grandmother, or nurse, but a woman with her own desires and dreams. My once empty house was now filled with life, laughter, and warmth, and the kids brought back a light I'd long forgotten. His career took off. 3 months after moving in, she closed a $500,000 house deal, a company record. She glowed with pride, telling me about it while Madison doodled flowers on a napkin. I never thought I could do this, she confessed, tucking her hair behind her ear. I was always Preston's daughter, then's wife. Now I'm just. You were always, I said. It just took time to see it. The kids thrived. Jacob won a local chess tournament. Madison joined dance classes at the community center, and I attended every performance, even her clumsy 5-minute frozen routines, clapping louder than anyone, my heart full. But I knew this was temporary, was looking for an apartment to start fresh with the kids, was out there battling his addiction, and I didn't know if he'd ever come back, but I wasn't afraid anymore. I'd learned to live for myself and those around me. In early February, a month after my lonely Christmas, knocked on my door. He looked different, thinner, dark circles under his eyes, but with a new resolve. "Mom, can I come in?" he asked quietly. I nodded, stepping aside. He held a small package wrapped in brown paper. "What's this?" I asked as he took off his coat. "It's for you, but first, I need to say something." We sat at the kitchen table and he spilled everything. For the first time in years, he was honest. He talked about his addiction, poker nights with colleagues, his first online casino, winning $5,000 and thinking it was easy, then losing everything, my money, savings, her parents' inheritance. "I lied to everyone," he said, staring at the floor. I told myself I'd win it back, fix everything, but every loss dug me deeper. "Why didn't you stop?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "I couldn't. It was like someone else was in control. I saw you working yourself to death, pulling away, the kids looking at me with fear, but I couldn't stop. And now," he looked up, tears in his eyes. "Now I want to. I enrolled in a rehab program in Columbus, 3 months intensive therapy. I start next week." I sat in silence, processing. This was what I wanted for him, but the anger remained. Years of lies, sacrifices, his decision to change didn't erase them. I said finally, "I'm proud you're taking this step, but you need to understand, trust is broken. Me, the kids, we all need time." "I know," he nodded. "I'm not asking for forgiveness now. I just want you to know I'm trying." He handed me the package. "It's not a gift to buy your forgiveness, just something I found going through my stuff." I unwrapped it. Inside was an old photo album from his childhood, his first steps, school plays, trips to the lake with David and me. On the last page, in his childish scrawl, "To Mom, the best ever. Love." I couldn't hold back tears. This wasn't just an album. It was a reminder of the boy I loved more than life. And maybe, somewhere inside this broken man, he was still there. "Thank you," I whispered. "Mom, I'll pay you back. I don't know how, but I will." Money, not the point. The point is becoming someone you can be proud of, someone your kids can be proud of. Took the news of rehab cautiously. When I told her, she stared out the window for a long time. "I want to believe he'll change," she said finally, "but I can't risk the kids, not again." "You shouldn't," I said. "Let him prove himself first." We agreed could see the kids, but only supervised and after completing half the program. Wanted to protect Jacob and Madison from more disappointment, and I supported her. Meanwhile, I helped with her plans. She found a modest apartment in downtown Cozy with 2 bedrooms and a small balcony. I helped her move, and we painted walls, hung curtains, and assembled IKEA furniture together. The kids loved their new room, especially Madison, who insisted on pink curtains. Said over tea on her new balcony, "I don't know how I'd have done this without you. You're more than a mother-in-law, you're family." I smiled, warmth spreading through me. "You're my family too, always will be." By the next Christmas, a year after that awful fight with, everything had changed. Completed rehab and got a job at his father's car dealership. It wasn't glamorous, but he was happy, said he liked working with his hands, talking to people, feeling useful. Invited him to our Christmas dinner, but with no promises, no expectations. Just a step toward reconciliation. We gathered at my house, no extravagant gifts, no fancy dishes. I baked my mother's cornbread, brought a salad, and the kids helped decorate a $20 tree from the local market, brought handmade wooden toys, a car for Jacob, a doll for Madison, crafted in Rehab's woodworking class. "Daddy, you made this?" Jacob asked, marveling at the car. "Yeah, buddy, wanted you to have something from me." Madison climbed onto his lap and hugged him. "Daddies, you're not leaving again, are you?" Looked at, then at me, his eyes full of hope and fear. "I'm not going anywhere, sweetheart, I promise." We sat around the table, eating simple food, laughing at the kids' stories about school and dance. For the first time in years, I didn't feel the need to prove anything or sacrifice myself. I was just there, grandmother, mother, woman, finally balanced between loving others and loving myself. After dinner, when the kids were asleep and was clearing dishes, approached me. "Mom, I know I can't give you back the years you lost because of me, but thank you for not giving up on me, for giving me a chance." I hugged him like I did when he was a little boy, scared of thunderstorms. "So I'll always be your mom, but now I know I can be more, and so can you." A year later, became a partner at Sunset Realty, her name gaining recognition in business circles. She bought a modest bungalow with a garden for the kids to play in, not a mansion, but a home. Kept his job at the dealership and attended Gamblers Anonymous meetings. He started saving to pay off some of his debts. He and didn't get back together, but they became good co-parents, even friends. Sometimes I'd catch them laughing together, and it gave me hope. I retired from the hospital after 25 years. My health couldn't handle the grind anymore, but I found new purpose volunteering at a senior center, helping people who felt as lost as I once did. I also enrolled in Italian classes, preparing for my dream trip to Italy. That Christmas, we gathered again. My house was filled with laughter, the smell of cornbread, and the sound of children's voices. I looked at my family, Jacob, Madison, and realized my heart was free, not from pain or sacrifice, but from expectations. I loved them all, but I'd learned my love didn't have to cost me myself. When Madison asked for a story about the best Christmas ever, I smiled and said, "This one, sweetheart, right now, did you like this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let us know where you're reading from. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated on new, exciting stories. See you soon."